We help athletes develop proficiency, assisting their passion for the game they love. Today is going to be a great episode 72. Now, sit back and listen. This is going to be a little different, guys. We got a guy that has mastered a lot of things. He's going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about life skills. And Lord, do we need life skills? We are also going to talk about somebody that can help you, get you in the right direction, not just as an athlete, but as a human being. He is a gifted man by the name of Mr. Youssef. I'm going to call him Mr. Youssef. And here it is, very own Mr. Youssef. How you doing today, sir?
Good, man. Good morning, and thanks for having me on, man. This is
Good
always
morning to
fun,
you as
right?
well. It's good morning. I started my little podcast a little different today. Everybody's like, "Oh, he's got that more cool, smooth attitude today." But I am so excited today, man, because this is the day the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad. And they said,
Amen.
Coach Lara, he comes with all kinds of stuff. I mean, this is the podcast that we work on, helping everyone understand the truth and nothing but the truth. Now, people say, well, you are a man of God. Yes, I am. But I also realize that we're trying to help impact people, not empower people. I don't want to be a motivational speaker. I want to make sure that you understand that we're people, that we love people. It's all about helping people, helping next generation of sports, also life skills. And people says, well, Coach Laurie, you've had everyone on here. Yes, I have. But I just want to make sure I'm able to touch anybody's heart and soul that they can be changed because we're going to have all type of people on this podcast. And I pray that you are touched and God gets all the glory. So, Yusuf, let's just go ahead and start off from the beginning. Let's tell everybody where you're from and what you do because I gave you a little quick bio. I mean, he's a podcaster first and foremost. He does podcast now. Remember this. Also, he has a nonprofit as well. He's a content creator, and he's been on several shows. He's an ordained minister, so he has touched quite a few areas. Let's talk about the beginning. You told me something that most people don't know. You're from the very own NY. So explain to me, as a kid growing up, playing sports in the NY.
Well, yeah, that's definitely the beginning. A lot farther away from where I am right now, but it was wild because I think in most inner cities, the the goal is the same to get out and make something for yourself, to be relevant, to
Mm,
have a family life that's safe and secure, and you're not struggling, which we were. So every most kids that looked like me that were black and brown had the same struggle from New York all across the country. So it wasn't really that unique, sadly. But that was my situation too. I thought it was supposed to be my way to get me out of the ghetto.
mm,
So I dabbled. I tried to play everything: basketball, baseball, football. My mom didn't discourage it, but she definitely encouraged me to get a higher education. She's a
mm.
lifetime student. As a matter of fact, the lady was in her 60s and she was still taking classes. I'm like, man, you can take a break now. So she was just, she's always learning. She still does it now. She's in her 70s and she's still doing the same thing.
Wow.
A little bit lesser degree, but she's still doing the same thing. She's in the medical world as a nurse. She was doing all kind of stuff and just a mathematician. She does everything. So
Mm.
she definitely emphasized that a lot. She thought that my infatuation with sports was cool, but as a career, not really. I wanted to be an actor. As a career, she wasn't supportive of any. She was supportive, but not supportive. If that makes sense.
I get it. I get it. I mean, it makes more sense. I mean, because coming from New York, it's a little different from most places, which we know that that's the mecca of basketball. We also know that's where the New York Mets are at, New York Yankees are at. You got everything there. You got the Knickerbockers. You got everything in New York. And your football teams are not really from New York. They're different parts, but they call them New
I still
York.
claim them.
And I'm not hating on it by any means. I just people need to understand. Coming from New York, why did you choose to play baseball instead of playing basketball?
um, that's a weird one. I love the question, by the way, because nobody's ever asked me that before. But in the place where I grew up at, there wasn't much. If you look at it historically, you see that there's very few baseball fields in New York City. Very
Yeah,
few. As a matter of fact, Major League Baseball probably could have invested a lot in urban development there, but they didn't. They had some fields, but they were like shoddy, not well put together. but the basketball courts you can find them almost everywhere. And I think part of me was a tradition breaker.
Oh, okay.
I could have went and did basketball. I was pretty good at basketball. They had me playing at the four all the time. I don't know how. I was like what 5'6", 5'7", playing the four. I don't know how that worked out, but if I put me at the four, I can body the bigger people and and play in the low post. I don't know why, but that's what it was. I had a good shot. But baseball, for some reason, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was listening to it on the radio or watching on TV. It was my first sports love,
Okay.
and I thought that baseball was what I want to do. I love basketball. I love the Knicks. Patrick Ewing is
Right.
my favorite player of all time. That's my guy. But for some reason, baseball just stuck. I don't really know why. I kind of felt like it was a team sport, but still independent enough that you can kind of make your mark.
Yeah.
So it was a baseball field not far from us. It wasn't great. Like I said, it was poorly put together. It was
Right.
not well kept, not well maintained. But mom would take me out there because no dad wasn't around. Mom took me out there with my Rollins glove, play catch, let me get a few hits and stuff off of us. Just
Right.
and it just kind of developed from there. Started watching the Yankees. I watched the Mets too. I mean, my mom loved the Mets. I watched both of them in our household. It was an all New York household, so I don't care if it was Colgate. If it's a New York team, we root for them in this household. So when I left, that's when I started making decisions about who I want to stick with full time. But yeah, baseball was my first sports love, man. I thought maybe that'd be my way to get out. I was
Mm.
a right fielder. I got stuck in right field. I started off at first base and I got put in right field. Read into that what you will, but so I was
Uh,
I was okay, but I mean, after a while, I figured out that wasn't my way out.
I guess
I
you. I
just
mean,
thought it was.
and I understand that, for guys that are just clicking on to this is the You Going Pro podcast. This is episode 72. Yusef Michael Marshall, but Mr. Yusef. And we're talking about some baseball life skills. We're talking about things to diversify our listeners a little bit more besides just talking about baseball. We're talking about baseball. We're also talking about life skills. Let me ask you a question. This is the question I'm going to ask you is from playing baseball at an early age in New York, coming from a place where they didn't have a lot of baseball fields, better baseball fields, how did that mold you at the next level, making your next decision in sports or life?
I think what that did it fueled something. I don't know if it was good at first, but it evolved into that. But it kind of evolved into well, it started off as more of a frustration.
Mm,
I'm like, okay, so you got all these people with all of this talent out here, natural athletic ability, and don't have many ways to use it.
mm-hmm.
And they go to the school system, it's limited. I mean, you can do some stuff there, but it's not. It's limited. Sometimes it's really about who you know,
Correct.
politics, like any place else. Who you know, that's the coach's son is going to
That's
get
right.
play. That kind of stuff was always prevalent, even way back then in the '70s. But it began to fuel the frustration in me that all these people are kind of just being neglected.
Mm,
All these people will have something they can offer, but nobody's ever going to know about it unless they really make a really loud noise.
that's
Nobody's
right.
going to know that they have something to offer this great big old world. New York was so big, so vast, like you mentioned earlier. So many things about New York that the outside be like, man, this place is huge. It has so much, but there's so many areas that just get untouched. I just
Mm,
happen to live in one of them. You know
correct.
what I'm saying?
Correct.
But so it's true the frustration for me. But what it did for me also was let me kind of dig a little deeper and see, the value in people. That's not why I started doing life coaching or ministry or anything like that, but it did help. That I saw that kind of early on. And you know what? People got value out here. I don't care what people
Yes.
say about you in the news or how people perceive you. There's value in here in all of us. We are treasure in these earthen vessels.
Correct.
So I just wanted, something. It kind of got sparked back then. Because if I just looked at what was going on, it kind of felt kind of hopeless. If I looked at that only,
Yeah.
you know what? This is it. This is my life. This is what
Yeah.
the best I can do. But
Right.
I was always a rebel, and I couldn't accept that was. So why not? Why can't we change this? Or
Right.
my mom was like that too. It's like I didn't steal it. I inherited it from her.
I get it. And it sounds like from hearing you speak, this is just being a coach and being also an athlete and thinking. It sounds like you're a game changer. You're a game changer. People call it world changer, but I call it a game changer because, you know, you have to master the gift that God's given you. So basically, you figure it out after going through the fire. Because sometimes people want to get out. They want to get out and get into the microwave, and it's best to stay in the crock pot. Stay in there and germinate and see what's going to come out. Because a lot of times, as people and as athletes, we want the quick fix because it gives us the quick gratification. But as a coach and also as a former athlete playing high school, not to play high school, I mean JUCO ball, 4-year ball, a little bit of independent ball. Then I got cut. Also playing semi-pro ball. I realized I learned a lot from that. Like you said, you didn't make it as far as you wanted to, but it molded you to the person you are today. This is episode 72. Again, Mr. Youssef. We're talking about baseball and life skills and how you can diversify your portfolio. And people say, I don't have a portfolio. You said something earlier. You talk about earthly vessels, treasures in your earthly vessels. Can you break that down? What it mean by that? Because I know what it means. For a person, for a guy or a girl that's listening, or a mom or a dad or a coach or whoever it may be listening, they may say, well, I don't have any gifts. I mean, yeah, you didn't play pro baseball, but you start off playing a sport. So, can you elaborate what you mean by treasures and earthly vessels, so that people can and break it down so people can understand it? Because a lot of people don't understand what you mean. I don't have a gift. All I do is play baseball. All I do is play basketball, and it wind up you might not be playing that sport. How can you help them with that?
Okay. Well, that's what that. This is fun stuff. Uh, it's a passage of scripture that comes from 2 Corinthians 4 verse 7. I believe that's correct. And the context of it is that we have something special inside of us that is God given.
Okay.
It's innate. Once we're born, we automatically begin to become sponges.
Okay.
We, we're given information, we're given ideas and thoughts. They come through the radio, they come through television, they come through our parents, they come through our friends and family members. They come from everywhere around us, and those things deposit in us throughout the years from birth to death. But a lot of those things, when they're negative and when they're not healthy for you, they can sometimes shape the way you see yourself, and you see yourself as this because it's been
Right.
said so many times. It must be so. You heard it
Mm-hmm.
all your life. But the idea of being a treasure in an earthen vessel means that even though we are humans, fallible, we make plenty of mistakes. We're not perfect, and we're weak in a lot of areas.
Right.
Inside of us is a treasure, if you will, something special about us, something that is a we're basically light bearers. We have something valuable to bring to this world. We have the influence, we have the leadership to bring to this world, even in our own sphere, in our own area of influence. We have to be a leader like a president or a leader like a captain of a football team. We leaders in our own ways, and we have to discover it. And it's the whole life. It's nothing but a journey.
Mm.
It's an exploration to find the purpose for why we're here. It's a
Right.
question that
Right.
I ask often on our podcast, and I hear from people who hit me up offline and want to ask me. A young man did that just 2 days ago.
Mm.
And it's like that's the exploration. Why are we here? What am I here for? What's the purpose of me being here? And that treasure in earthen vessels that we walk around as is our key to finding that,
Mm.
because we can't find it from people who are on the outside looking at us and judging us and deciding what they think we can do in our trajectory in life.
I got you.
It comes from it comes from an alternative source. You and I know what that is, and we
Correct.
discussed it before, but that's what that means. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think you're breaking it down, elaborating, because I want this show. We help athletes develop proficiency, assisting their passion for the game they love, and that's my slogan. It's like Nike has, just do it.
Yeah.
Mine is to help athletes develop proficiency. And what do you mean by proficiency? Well, proficiency is being a professional. Being a professional. And to be a professional, you have to be a master at something, not just being an athlete. Athlete is just a part of you. That's not who you are. That's just a gift that God's given you at this season to get to that next level. Now, you may be a pro athlete. You may be a great college athlete. And you may play pro ball, but it's only for a short season. It ain't forever. I don't think that I'm thinking about some guys that I want to bring up. Roger Clemens didn't play for 50 years. Even Satchel Paige started at 40. He didn't play all his life. Joe DiMaggio, another guy, great guy from New York. He didn't play for 50 years.
Yeah,
So I got some more. I can think about my very own, one of my favorite players, Barry Bonds. He didn't play for 50 years. Ricky Henderson, they didn't play for 50 years. And that's why I have someone like yourself on the show to diversify athletes because I don't want people to get stuck. Because we get stuck as athletes. I mean, even if you're not an athlete now, you was an athlete, so you are who you are. You're still an athlete. You're just not doing what you used to. You still have those same characteristics: a team player, a vision, a focus, an ambitious, and I'm gonna go get it. That's something you talked about
yeah.
your mother that helped you. That's what I wanted to break that down. But the next question I want to ask you is this: transitioning, getting out of high school, going to college, and things of that nature. What was your uh, transition like going to your next uh, education or college or things of that nature?
Well, like I was sharing earlier in the show, my mom was a lifetime student. She was very, very strict on education. She's from the Virgin Islands, so a lot of that was kind of born and bred in her that it was well, there is some attachment to colonialism and slavery attached to that if you know the history of it. But she came from a hard working family,
Okay.
and hard work was kind of their motto. If you're not working hard, anybody from the islands, they usually had that same mind. I don't care if it's Jamaica, wherever it is,
Right.
St. Lucia, same thing. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't work hard, it's like you're not you're
You're
not
not
you're not
doing
you're not
nothing.
living right.
Right. Right.
So
Something ain't right.
she brought that into our household. Hard work and discipline were big parts of my life. Uh, in high school though, I kind of felt as though everybody was training me for college. I kind of just felt like it just wasn't for me. Not because I wasn't educated. I was a really smart kid, had fantastic grades. Excuse me, but it just wasn't for me. So, you know, by the time I got out of high school, I didn't go right into college. I kind of decided to do some things on my own. I worked and I started getting involved with music.
Okay.
That was something that was a big part of my background too. I was a singer and songwriter. I was part of a couple of groups, and we even had an independent record deal for a short period of time with a pretty well-known label. But honestly, I didn't even go back to college and get some. I had probably maybe 5 or 6 degrees later on in life. Like I was already married by then. Like in my late
Okay.
20s, 30s. So I did go back and get some because there was some skills I wanted to learn.
Correct.
But for me, I felt like the information it was good for me to get it, but I didn't want to rely on it like it was my key to get to A or B.
B. Okay.
I never saw it like that. It was just a stepping stone.
I
I love
got
how
you.
you mentioned the athletes.
Right.
This is not he's not a baseball star, but there's a book by Magic Johnson. I think it's fantastic because he learned the kind of thing that we're talking about right now. I think
Okay.
it's called the 32 Steps to something or another. I'm reading it,
Okay.
don't remember the title, but I remember all this inside the book though. But what he was talking about, the thread throughout the whole book so far is that he tried to lean on his athleticism,
Okay.
lean on the credibility he had with being on a championship team as a championship player and a huge part of the championship teams as well. He wasn't just a B player; he was a big part of it. He tried to leverage that into business. And he realized that that wasn't going to work. There were things he had to learn. He had to ask the right questions. He had to humble himself and receive the answers that he was given. And
Correct.
that's one thing I feel like with athletes. I have a buddy of mine. He is he used to play for multiple NFL teams and in college with Georgia. Good buddy of mine. He tried to start a program for athletes, almost like what you're talking about,
Okay.
helping them get life skills, helping them adjust to the fact that what, you're not getting drafted, you're out of the league. Now who are you? What are you going to
Correct.
do?
Correct.
So I love that you guys are having the same mindset. But that's what that book taught me, and what you're talking about, and what my friend was talking about. That there's a life after this, because you're not playing 24/7. The guys you named play 40, 50 years, but they didn't play 40, 50 years all year long.
Correct.
What were they doing when they were not on the field or
Correct.
not on the court play? What were
Correct.
they doing? Okay, there's something more than just the athletic.
You
It's
got
nothing
it.
but a stepping stone to where you need to be.
That's right.
I
That's
was in
right.
the corporate world. I hated the corporate world, but it was a stepping stone to
Right.
where I needed to be.
Right.
I used to be
Right.
an author. I used to write books, but that was just a stepping stone to where I needed to be. It
I
wasn't
like that.
who I am. I'm not an author. That's not who I am. I'm a lot of things.
I like that. I
I
like that.
learned and I accrued skills and knowledge and wisdom from people who did it way better than I did. You know, and I'm using it to leverage what I believe the big picture is, if that makes
Correct.
sense.
I got you. That it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you said that's good. And I'm for the people that are listening. This is episode 72. I got Mr. Yusuf. Now, the name of that book is there's several books that Magic Johnson wrote. It's 32 Ways to Be a Champion in Business.
That's what I'm reading.
I'm gonna repeat that again. This is 32 Ways to Be a Champion in Business by Irving Magic Johnson. That's the book. If you want to look at it, that's the book. If you can see it, I want to make sure we get a plug out for Magic. Not that he needs a plug, but you know,
He's good.
but
He's good.
but Magic Johnson is Magic Johnson, Irvin Magic Johnson, and the reason I said that because growing up in Chicago, that's one of my favorite all-time basketball players is Magic Johnson because I used to try to be like Magic Johnson. So that's another
Yeah.
story for another podcast. And
You're not by yourself, man.
but with that, you said something that was very profound that I caught. What you said, we talked about high school, then we talked about the transition going to get an education, and you talked about getting an education at a later time in your life. Now let's break this down. I'm so glad I got you on the show. I've been waiting for someone to say this. You've already said it. So what's the difference between having an education and going to college? Because there's two difference. There's a difference. Some people go to college. Well, I'm speaking for athletes. Most athletes, 50% of the athletes, go to college for one reason to play sports. Period. Period. Now, I'm gonna drop
Yep.
the mic. Boom.
It's dropped.
It's dropped.
It's dropped.
And I was one, but I'm gonna say I was 100% reason why I went to college is to play sports. Now, my grandmother always told me to get an education, but as you get older, you realize. So, what's the difference between being educated and just getting a degree?
Well, I went to college so I can get paid more. I'm just being honest about it.
Okay, I like that.
The idea of sitting in the classroom, this is just, even though I consider myself an introvert, nobody believes that, but it is what it is.
Okay,
The idea of sitting in the classroom for hours a day, listening to somebody talk, not my idea of a good time. So I was just there to, to get the paper
correct.
so I can get the paper. That's really all it was about for me, period. But what I'm learning about now, later on in life, that people around me are still in their 40s and 50s and they're trying to take classes and stuff. I don't fault them. Go ahead and do you. I got to do you. Right? So that's me. But I feed the way I feed myself right now. I could never get this in college.
Mm,
I mean, that book right now that I'm in right now, no. A mentor is helping me kind of get in that. 'Cause I didn't even know about that book. A mentor helped me out with that, and three more books behind it that I
I
already
like
have
that.
in my bookshelf. I'm getting something to
I
build
like
my
that.
business mind. I mean, I got multiple business degrees, but for some reason it never clicked.
Correct.
So for me, I feed myself. I mean, my mornings start early. They start with prayer and intercession with my wife early in the morning, and then my own personal Bible reading, and then my reading these books, and then some other things that are part of my disciplines every day. I feel like I am wiser and more informed than I ever have been. And I
Hmm.
had stacks of books I was learning in school and stuff. I never really felt like I was gaining anything out of it. I'm in a whole different place. So for me, I feel like I'm educating myself, and I need to. I
Hmm.
need this is part of my. I don't know how to describe it. It's just a need. I have to have this.
Right.
The same way I need to have air. I need to
Right.
have these books. I need
I
to
get you.
learn and read. I mean, I got a big bookshelf behind me on both sides of me, full of books that I need to read. I need to go back and read them again and feed myself. With college, it just seems a little bit different to me. It's structured, yes, but it's also limited,
I got you.
and that's what I got from my time doing that. It's just limited. Even in high school, it was just limited,
Hmm.
and it always felt like it was Limit is the best word I can come up with that makes sense
I like
what
that
I
what you
do.
said. I like what you said because I just want to make sure that people understand that what you're saying,
Yeah.
because I don't want people to misinterpret what you're saying.
I hope not.
I'm going to be your lawyer, because
Thank you.
people says, well, Coach Laura got all these guys on, got this guy on here who's talking against school. No, I'm not talking against school. Let's get that straight. We're not talking against school,
No, I don't think I did that.
but just because school is good for you doesn't mean it's good for me. Now, it's a difference between going to school and being educated, because let's just I'm gonna bring back some history. Back in the day, when there's certain nationalities that couldn't go to school, how did you think they educated themselves? They had to read, figure it out. My grandmother and grandfather had a third grade reading level,
Mm.
but they bought a house, and they had paid all their house off, and they bought cars, and they didn't buy cheap cars. They drove Cadillacs like back in the day before there was Mercedes, and
You know they were doing well.
they were doing well. But we're talking about someone that had a third grade reading level, and my grandmother didn't work, so she knew how to hustle, babysitting, and she had foster kids and stuff. So I want to make sure people don't get discouraged and say, well, are you talking against education? No, I'm not talking against education. You got to figure out, like you said, we talk about the treasures inside of us. You had to figure it out. But how are you going to figure it out unless you have a relationship with God? This is what I believe. You don't have to believe it, but I believe it. And I said that because I'm going through the experience. I'm not just making something up just because it sounds good, or I'm trying to get you to get some clicks or get some likes. I don't do stuff like that. I do things because I want to make sure that on this show that we empower athletes and people that are listening to this show to have a better life. So that's why we have Mr. Yusuf here today, so we can diversify our show. But also, we're talking sports. We're also talking life, because sports is just a short part of our life. I mean, if you're an athlete, you're an athlete. Which brings us to the next question. I want to bring you to this next question. You talked about making that transition into from an athlete playing sports in New York, then figuring out later you had to go to school, and you just went later in school. So my question to you is this: um, is it ever too late to go to college for the young man? Or just say a guy says he don't want to play sports anymore, and so he says, well, I mean, I'm burnt out because my parents made me play. I liked it, but I didn't really love it. What wisdom can you give this a kid, a boy or a girl, that's kind of burnt out, and they just don't want to do anything? So what would you tell them to do?
Ooh. What I want to do is I might need my lawyer to help me out on this one again.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I might need my lawyer to help me out with this one seriously. But uh, like I said, I went back later in life just because there were some skills that I wanted to learn, and honestly, I didn't have the mentorship available to help me learn them. I do now, but I didn't have it then. So if I could go back in time and move the people that I have now in my life, then I probably wouldn't have done several things in regards to some schooling, not all, but some schooling. Uh, I think this is different because my mindset's different.
Okay.
So I'm able to kind of receive this in a different way. If I was to go to school now, I probably wouldn't be super thrilled about that because I'm like, okay, look all the loan debt that's going to be on the back end of this thing by the
Right.
time I get done. No matter what I learn, I'm paying out the yin yang at the end of this.
Right.
So I don't really care for the system of that.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, people do it all the time. Like you talked about athletes, they may not have mentorship. Like I didn't have it, and that might have to be the best option for them. And they have to figure the
Correct.
whole debt part out on the back end. But I feel like if you really want to understand, you really want to gain knowledge and information, you can find it.
Correct.
You can do it. You know what I'm saying? And people who are former athletes that are kind of burnt out and just kind of feeling as though they don't have a direction to go in. A lot of them that I've met personally, talked to them about, I even befriended many of them over the past 5 years or so. You know what I'm saying? They always go into business
Mm.
because it's like, I guess it's a natural lean for them. They go right into business every single time, almost ad nauseum. They go to school and they take business courses and stuff. I'm not against that, but
Yeah.
the thing I like about it the most, excluding the debt part, what I like the most is that they're thinking about building something that's going to be productive and useful for the community at large.
I got you.
Now, when people go from athletics into music, I'm skeptical. Although I did it,
Correct.
I'm skeptical of people who do that. I'm like, okay, so what's your motivation? Now, this is the coach talking. I was talking to him back then, and I can rewind back to that place in time. I would say, why are you doing this? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And usually it's about self-aggrandizement. It's about something about you trying to feed something in you, you
Correct.
know?
Correct.
Uh, and that's why I did it too, just to be honest about it. It was, I wanted to make a mark, and I
Hmm.
thought that was the way to do it.
Correct.
Athletics wasn't going to work for me anymore. I had injuries and stuff like that. Said, let's try music. So that's what it was. But these guys going into business, I applaud them. I think you should learn about land and real estate and investing. You should be out there trying to build something that's big enough to house people who are in need of solid work and a solid foundation in life and solid mentorship and coaching and counsel and stuff. I mean, I recommend that. So I don't know if I answered the question. I just kind of went off into
A little tangent. It's
a whole
okay.
different world, but
It's
I
okay.
hope if I missed it, bring me back to what I missed. But I mean, I just feel like a lot of people who are in that same spot. I was burnt out too,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
what am I going to do with me at this point?
Right.
So school was a default. I mean, it's kind of just sitting there. You can't turn the TV on and I see all these commercials about how you can get your education online, in this amount of time, and it only, and you can do it, from at your own pace and
Yeah. Yeah. That's
in
those
the
are
comfort
code
of your own
words.
home. I mean,
That's code words.
it's
Right.
really hard to not see that.
Right.
So it's really easy. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, there's some stuff on the back end you got to deal with that they don't tell you about in the commercials.
Correct. That's
But
right.
it's you know, educating yourself is like, if you don't do it, the world around you is going to do it for you, and
Mm.
you don't want that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm a voracious reader. I believe that leaders are readers. So I read a lot. I got a lot of books on my office desk right now. If you could see them, you wouldn't believe it. It's a lot,
Yeah.
and I'm reading all these books. Sometimes it concurrently, but I'm back on that
Yeah.
a little bit. Like, okay,
Yeah.
pace
Yeah.
yourself, man. One work
Yeah.
at a time.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? I'm talking to myself.
I'm
Talking
glad
only
you
to
said
you.
that. That's good. I mean, Yusuf, you said a lot because there's something else you just said. It was leaders are readers. Now I know that because I believe that because I was a guy that played sports, and for the people that didn't know this, yes, I'm saying this on episode 72, the You Going Pro podcast. I'm gonna say it. I couldn't stand school. I didn't like it. I didn't like school. But you said something that I totally agree with you. I learned that, yes, I went through school. I had school paid for, and as a back end, I still had to pay for school loans. That's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But you said something. You said leaders are readers. My granddad, I'm going back to what my granddad told me when I was a little boy. Remember I said early in the episode, I said that my granddad had a third grade reading level, but he bought cars, house, had everything. He had a little rental property in Michigan from Chicago. We used to go like a little double wide and go. It was paid. Everything was paid for. Everything without an education. Now I'm not. I'm gonna say this again. We're not talking against education. I'm not talking against college and degrees. I'm making a valid point. Education is good. We don't want you walking around being a dummy. We want you to be educated.
Amen.
I'm just being honest. And people say, well, you said dummy. Yes, it's a word. And I'm not using it derogatory. I said don't be a dummy. We have a choice. There's all about choices. Choose life or death. I believe everything has a life or death situation, and that's biblical as well. But my point is, you have to find out what's good for you, what works for you, what makes, well, I don't want to say makes you happy, because sometimes we don't know what makes us happy until we get in it. We got to go in it first to figure it out. Oh, I don't want to do this, but you got to do something. You got to have a vision. You got to have a plan. Those who are destroyed without a vision, they perish. So you have to have a vision. So with that being said, you know, I also have, and I'm not gonna say his name, but I have quite a few mentors that loves to read. They like to read, and I mean, and also when you read a lot, you're rich in your mind. You're wealthy in your mind. Your mind is wealthy when you read a lot, and contain it and understand it and apply it. As the word says in the Hebrews 11:1, faith without works is dead. Um, you need to understand that you have to apply that faith that you're doing. Faith comes by hearing and hearing over word of God over and over. So the more you read it, the more you implement it, and you start putting it to work. So, with that, you talked about leaders or readers. You talked about New York playing baseball in a basketball city or basketball state. Talked about your mother. Um, let's talk about leadership a little bit. You know, we don't have, let's put it this way, we don't have a lot of leaders that I would define that are leaders. They may have the title, but are they really leaders? What is your definition of leadership? In sports and also in life.
Real brief, because this is something that we talk about on the Inspiration Station almost every single episode.
Okay.
It comes out. Best way I can define this in the simplest terms
Okay.
is the ability to influence others.
I like that.
I don't know an easier way to put that. It's the ability to influence others. And so people say they're not leaders. You are. Everybody on this earth is a leader. At the same time, everybody on the earth is a follower too.
Yeah.
It's a very weird dichotomy. We are leaders and followers at the same time.
Correct.
But everybody on the earth is leaders, and we all have the capability to do that. I think the reading part is key because honestly, if you and this is something I'm doing a private study about the mentality of a seeker, and one of the reasons why people do well, that it could be me and another person coming from the same location geographically, same impoverished background, same family dynamic, might not have a father in the household, all those things. But the difference between the two, the divider, the separator, is that one is willing to seek relentlessly, and the other one is waiting for something to be given.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to, and what I'm doing for myself, this is just a personal thing for me. What I'm trying to learn is where in the Bible do we see emphasis on seeking? And there's a lot. There's a lot more than people realize. You know, and people are like, okay, well, why don't God do this? He wants you to seek. The Bible said that He's a rewarder of those that diligently seek
Seek
Him.
him.
Hebrews 11:6. Diligently seek Him. That means, constantly. I mean, seek means, even I think it's in the Greek. It means to leave a mark,
Yes.
to pave a path.
That's right.
Okay? And we have to do that for anything that we're looking to accomplish in life. I don't even want to be around people who wait for somebody to give them something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had free lunches back in the day, but you know what? They wasn't.
It wasn't good.
It wasn't something that if I was seeking a lunch, that's not what I would have chosen.
Right. 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 Right.
So
Right.
I don't care if it's athletics. I don't care if it's business and having your own company, being an entrepreneur, being a coach. You got to learn how to seek again.
Yeah.
So you know what? I got to get past the place where I'm just sitting back waiting for something to be given because I had such a hard life. I earned this. I deserve this. I had to fight all those feelings and all those lies. So you know what? I don't what I deserve. I'm not getting it because of Jesus Christ.
Right.
What I should have gotten, He made sure I didn't get that. That's what I
Right.
actually deserved. So my whole goal is to learn how to begin to seek again. I'm on that mission.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I talk to somebody, it comes out of me. It comes out of my pores. We got to learn how to seek. People said
Mm-hmm.
I had a young man that reached out to me, crying about his family situation and how he's being mistreated and so, and saying how why is God doing this to me and I feel like I'm being punished. I'm like, I'm going back to the seeker mentality. Have you sought Him, or you sitting back waiting for Him to do something for you because you feel like you know you deserve this thing that you want so badly? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When you learn how to seek, you go past the selfish part, and you
Mm.
don't mind going through the grind and the adversity to find what you're looking for, to find what you actually need. When
Mm.
somebody says, "No, I want to find my purpose in life," if you don't do anything, you don't
You
have
don't
my
have
respect.
anything. That's right.
I
That's
don't
good.
believe you. I don't believe you even want what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell when somebody's seeking. So you know what? I'm going to do this. I don't care what they say about me. I don't care what they say about my family or what they said about my trajectory in life is, I'm just going after this. I'm going to find it.
I get you. I mean, that's good, Yusuf. That's good what you just said because you can use that in sports.
Yeah.
Like for example, I'm working on something now, and I hope you guys are listening. This is episode 72. I keep saying it. I want to make sure people hear this. This is episode 72. Mr. Yusuf Marshall, and for the guys or girls that are listening, parents says, "Well, my kid doesn't have a scholarship yet." I'm using this for an example because this is a sports podcast, but it's also a life podcast. Well, my kid don't have a he has not committed yet. He's not he's not got that offer yet. Well, maybe you need to seek a little bit more. How bad do you want it? That's old school. How
Oh
bad do
yeah.
you want it?
Oh
And I'm gonna read the definition of seek. Seek means to attempt to find, attempt or desire to obtain or achieve, ask for from someone. Now I read that from the dictionary. I did a Google search while you were talking. So, are you attempting to find something? Are you do you have a desire to obtain or achieve something? Are you asking for someone? That's what it says in the dictionary, and that goes for sports, that goes for business, but most importantly, it goes for life. Because, like I said, we talked about this earlier. You're not gonna play sports forever. I don't care who you are. I don't care anybody. And let me break it down again for people that didn't catch it earlier. Michael Jordan was great. To me, he's the GOAT. That's just to me.
he is the goat.
To me, that's just my.
Ain't no other goat. It's just him.
So you can say what you want to say, and that's fine. You can have a debate. We're not. It's not a debate
Ain't no
show.
debate.
It's no debate.
Jordan is the goat.
You.
There's no debate.
So, with that, he prepared himself because when he got done playing basketball, I think he wasn't even done. He didn't get his degree yet. He went back and got his degree afterwards. Um, you know, and now let's people want to talk about LeBron. I'm not a LeBron fan, but I respect his talent, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he is diversified himself as well. You know, a guy that did not go to college, but at the same token, he knows how to maximize his opportunity being one of the best basketball players of all time right now in this day and age. In this day and age, so he has diversified himself to tap into other ventures to make his life better after sports. So that's what we're talking about here, which gonna bring we're gonna take a little break right now. We're at the 42-minute mark, and I'm gonna there's something I do every show. It's called the triple I'm sorry, triple double play, triple play. So basically, I give you some history, and there's a guy by the name of Oscar Charleston. He's a center fielder, and also he was in the Negro Leagues. He was born 1915. He died 1944. Oscar Charleston is a center fielder. This guy was a powerful hitter, a power hitter. He can hit in all fields. He also can bunt. He was considered one of the greatest players in the Negro League. He played 917 games.
Wow.
And, I'm sorry, I got the birth wrong. He was born 1896. I apologize. He was born 1896. His name is Oscar Charleston. Man, that was way before we were even thought about. He was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 1976. His birthplace was Indianapolis, Indiana. Also, with that, as I stated before, this guy has been around. He's in the Hall of Fame. His name is True Triple Play. I'm sorry, True Triple Play. His name is Oscar Charleston. I want to make sure I get some history for some of the guys that listen to the show that don't know a little bit about our history. And I'm talking about this is not just black, brown. I'm just throwing out. I throw this all a True Triple Play. I do this every podcast now. It doesn't matter what the color is. It's not about color. I just want to make sure that some of the people that we don't know, because let's be honest, when people are on their cell phones, they're not scrolling for history. They don't want to know about history.
Mm-mm.
But I mean, one day someone's going to be reading about us. What do we do? How do we impact people? What do we do for society? I may not be a pro baseball player or a pro basketball player, but I impacted people somehow, some way on this earth. I want to make sure I leave a mark. As I stated before, his name was Oscar Robinson. He played A lot. He played from 1920 to 1941. That's 21 years. I mean, the guy played every. He hit. Um, I'm looking at his stats. He had 855 RBIs, 80 triples. I mean, that's a lot of triples. He was walked 477 times. He had an on base percentage at 449. Basically, almost half the time he was on base. And he had a batting average for 320, 365. So that was their true triple play. Just want to throw that out there because I like to do that every time we have a podcast. I got a question for you. Um, it's a little different, even though I know. Uh, I believe I'm gonna go ahead and throw that. Can you give me a Mount Everest, New York, the Mount Everest? If you had to put four guys on a mountain, who would that be? It can be baseball, basketball, and football. A Mount Everest. Your Mount Everest players of all time. Doesn't have to be New York, whoever it is.
I probably do New York. That's going to be a little tougher, but I like the challenge. Uh, it's not that he's first. He just comes to mind right now.
Who's that?
El Capitan, Derek Jeter.
Derek Jeter. Number one.
I put him on there on my Mount Rushmore. Uh, mm, this is just because I like him. But Patrick Ewing, my favorite New York Knicks player. I
Okay.
know Willis Reed was probably uh,
Yeah.
more known back in the day because they had a championship attached to it. But and Patrick Ewing got a bad rap
Yeah.
physically about some things, and in his play and his stature and stuff. But he's on my Mount Rushmore. Let's see who else I got. Lawrence Taylor's on my Mount Rushmore,
Oh.
55.
Oh. Lawrence
In
Taylor.
my mind, the greatest defensive player that I think I've ever seen. We have Twitter discussions about this stuff all the time. Who's the best defensive player? And I keep on saying LT, and I haven't changed my mind yet. It's been years, but still giving the same answer.
Yeah.
Uh, and ooh, I'm probably going to not touch hockey. I want to say Gretzky, but I'm
Oh.
not touch that.
Why you don't want to touch that?
I
That
because
he's oh man, he won all
I know,
time.
but I'm kind of just. I didn't plan to do one from all sports, but I'll go ahead and do Gretzky.
Oh man, that's
I go ahead.
Gretzky's a legend. He's a
Well, I
legend.
agree. I agree.
He's a
I was trying to just
legend.
find more baseball, more basketball stuff, football stuff, but that's what I
That's
watch.
good, man.
I'm a casual hockey fan. I watch hockey in the playoffs. I don't watch it in the regular season at
That's
all.
good stuff, man. Because
Yeah,
you've given every sport. I mean, every
yeah.
sport. I mean, hockey, basketball, baseball, football. I mean, nobody
I
talks about
try, man.
LT. Nobody talks about LT. Nobody talks about
I
LT.
do, and I'm gonna continue to.
So thanks, man. I appreciate that. I just had to
Yeah.
throw that in there because I several questions people asking that I ask every show. Next thing I want to talk about is let's talk about your business and how did that come to full fruition as far as having a nonprofit organization and what prompted you besides God. Was there a need, and how do you uh, continue to press forward? How do you continue to press forward?
Okay. Uh, our nonprofit is called Save the Children SC.
Save the
It's
children.
based out of South Carolina. The whole goal is to create awareness about the needs and the plights of children. For me, I feel as though there's some opportunities there. We talked about it a little bit offline. Young kids, they don't know how to talk to people. They can't even sign their name in cursive. Young men don't know how to treat young women. They
Mm,
don't know how to take care of themselves from a body grooming standpoint. They
mm.
don't know how to count money. I mean, we have
Wow.
grandchildren. I got
Wow.
six grandchildren, and two of them they're probably in the middle, age wise, and I watched them. They lived with us for a short period. I watched them struggle with counting money,
Wow.
and they would leave the change with the store owner because they couldn't count it. And I'm like, this is not good. I mean, if you want to give a donation, that's up to you, but
Right.
that's not like this. I'm saying at least know what you're doing.
Mm.
So financial literacy is a big deal, and actual literacy, not being able to read books and understand what you're reading. I want to try to jump on that because generations appear to be getting weaker and weaker, and I feel like this foundation is going to help that. It's not all that we're doing. We're going to be in conjunction with some other organizations that are doing some of the similar things. Like I talked about my friend, I'm sure we're going to be collaborating with him and some others doing some other things to kind of help young people uh, get acclimated to life and be productive in it. So it was out of a need because we watched it over and over again. Like, what's going on? I mean, I didn't know we were going to do this. This is surely a God thing, like you already intimated. We didn't know this, we'd be doing this, so this is very interesting, fulfilling already. We barely got started yet, but it's like we got big hopes. We got to have some camps for the kids so they can learn these things and learn about money and literacy and reading and how to take care of themselves and how to uh, etiquette. You
Mm.
know, speaking to somebody, look them in the eye, shake their hand. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're gonna teach them all of that kind of stuff because honestly, it's very devoid in our communities, and I want to try to help. So my wife and I are committed to playing a small part in making that happen. I know it's not going to be everything. I know it's not going to be. I hope we change the world in our own special way, but our goal is to at least do our part. So that's what
Right.
this foundation, Save the Children SC, is all about.
I like that, man. It's basically one child at a time, one person at a time. If you are changing the world, if you can impact one person, um, you know, my Lord Jesus Christ, he gave his only begotten Son. His goal was just gave his token of love. That was his token of love. Just one person. He didn't use three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 people. He used one. And one person can change many. That's true prosperity. Is when you can use one person, and that one person impacts another person, and that one person starts another person. So then we have a true domino effect. And I would like to say it's God's speed. It's not on our time, it's God's time. So, I wanted to end on that one. But I got one more question for you.
Sure.
And you've been through a lot, um, going from, your mother and, school and education. And, you know, what are a couple tips that you can give athletes about how to deal with transition or issues? What were some things which you got in life skills that you can apply towards sports that you can give them? It's basically the bottom line. This is my post game. It's my post game question. But you know, you go back at the end of the game. Coach always want to talk to the players. He wants to talk. Say, hey, 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 we're gonna talk about this game post game. Everybody, we got to huddle up. So my question to you is, since you're in an arena, a different arena, and being an athlete, played before, how or what do you tell an athlete now that's going through a transition? How do he trans? What are some tips would you give him? 3 tips that you'll give him?
Three
How?
tips.
3 tips. You know how does he come from being the guy to nothing and not knowing what to do?
Okay. First tip is the same work and effort that you put in to be a part of the team, you still need it to be a part of this world, to be an impact player in this world. You still need the same
Mm.
discipline. You're not going to stop doing what you did before. You need the same disciplines. Two, now you're looking at a different team. You're still doing the same work. You still have the same you still have the same aspirations. That the team is just different. Now it's not a team that's going to raise a trophy. Now you're going to have to be out here changing lives,
Mm.
and
I
that's
like that.
something you have to feel like you're called to it. This is your God-given assignment. You know what I'm saying? So
I
all those
like
things you
that.
learned in those areas, you're going to be using that there. That's two. And the third one I would say is you're going to have more than one coach,
Mm.
as opposed to just one coach that you're listening to. Now you're going to have more than one.
Wow.
Ask questions, listen to what they tell you, apply, like you said earlier, coach, apply it into your life. This is a greater team. This is a greater vision.
Right.
This is a greater goal. A goal that's going to last. I mean, people talk about World Series and stuff, going back. But honestly, tell me who won the 1932 World Series.
Mm.
The, I can tell you about '86, but I can't tell you about 1932. Those things they have a time clock on them, and after a certain amount of time, they fade into the background, and before you know it, right now we're in 2025. And people are struggling to even remember the '90s now. So it's
You're
like
right.
those things are great. They are accomplishments, but at the end of the day, you have an eternal goal to deal with.
Mm,
Yes, something that has eternal. You have a goal that has eternal consequences, I should say.
I
So
like that.
now it's time for you to jump on your new team, learn from your new coaches,
I
and
like that.
apply all that work ethic and that ability and that discipline into your new assignment now. It's time
Mm.
for you to start going to work.
I like that, man. I like what you said. That's pretty good. That's very good information. Can you also give the listeners your information how they can contact you on website or social media for your services if someone's interested, maybe giving to your nonprofit or being part of your nonprofit or whatever? How can they contact you?
Sure, absolutely. The website is SaveTheChildrenSC.com. SaveTheChildrenSC.com is a nonprofit. I'm on all of the socials, so I'm easily found at They Call Me Mr. U, Mistayu. If you're on Twitter, it's going to be MRYU. Just so you know, but I'm on all the socials, everything except Snapchat. I think. I'm not doing that, but I'm on pretty much everything else. But you can reach out to me, hit me a private message. I'd love to chat with you. I'm not doing a whole lot of coaching professionally anymore, as far as life coaching and stuff. But I still help folks from time to time, and they want to have some help. So I'm happy to link them up to my Zoom or my Google, and they want to have that kind of conversation. But I'm just out here. I'm talking sports. I'm talking life. I'm trying to inspire people with the inspiration station. I'm just trying to just make a difference in the areas that I have the ability to do so. I ain't trying to be the next podcast extra. I ain't trying to be the next Joe Rogan. It's not like I don't even care. I'm just trying to just create opportunities for other people. I help people build their own shows. I've done that on a couple of occasions now, their own podcasts, and I send them on their way, and they go ahead and do their own business. And I'm just trying to help people build because we need each other.
Yeah, yeah,
And
you're right.
even if we think we don't, we're in a really bad spot.
I mean,
So I
this is
recommend
good, man. I really appreciate you coming on, and it's a little different than what I normally do, and I'm okay with that. I mean,
it. Well, thank you.
I'm
Thanks for
very,
having me.
I'm just different. You said you're different, but I'm different too. I think we all are different because if you look at your, if we all look at our fingerprints and they're all different, and people
Hmm.
say, "Well, I'm not different." Oh yeah, you're different. You just haven't figured it out yet. You
Yeah.
know, you haven't figured it out yet. But I appreciate you coming on today.
Same here, man. Thank you.
This has been different. It's different, but in a good way
That's
because
good. That's good. That's good enough.
and and one of my favorite scriptures is Proverbs, and all that getting understanding. Wisdom is the principal thing. And so I said that because we never know until you connect with each other, build relationships with sports, outside of sports, because you just never know where God's trying to take you. This is very on You Going Pro podcast. We help athletes develop proficiency, assisting their passion for the game they love. And as I stated before, the key is proficiency. The key is the P word. And we want to make sure that you are at that next level in life. In life, not just, I mean, baseball is, yeah, that's my niche, but it's bigger than baseball. It's bigger than football. It's bigger than hockey. It's bigger than whatever sport you might be playing. That's just a season in your life you're playing at. And we went over a whole lot today. As this is Coach Laurie, I'm getting ready to close it out. I always ask my listeners this very same question all the time. Yourself, always. Which direction are you going into? What do you mean by that, Coach? Where are you being led? Where are you being led? LED. Where are you being led? You either going north, south, east, or west. And we gave you some nuggets of life skills. My question is this: L stands for what? L stands for lead. LED for listen. L stands for listen. Listen. Well, God gave us all two ears. The problem is we don't use them. We want to talk all the time. We need to listen. Yes, this is Coach Laurie, and this is how I do it. This is how God told me to do it, and this is how we're going to do it. Listen, and it's a very powerful letter because L stands for listen. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing the word of God. You can't hear something if you're not listening. He gave you a lot of nuggets of life skills. He talked about his life, talked about his mom. So if you're in any kind of situation, listen. The next letter is E. What does E stand for? I'm glad you asked. Execute on what you just heard. Execute. Listen, execute, which leads me to the last letter. The last letter stands for D. D is in dog. D stands for dominate. You know, we're all our God's children. The question are, what team are you on? Because you can dominate on both sides. But the key is this: I want to dominate on every aspect of my life, in the game, outside the game, in my heart, in my spirit, in my will, in every aspect, nothing missing, nothing broken. And it says in Genesis 1:28, 1:26, 28, talks about God, He created us in His image, but also He created us to have dominion over every creeping thing. LED, listen, execute, dominate. This is Coach Laurie, episode 72, and I sponsor this podcast today. This is going about you going pro apparel. This is great. We're gonna have some apparel coming out very soon. You'll be able to get some hats, shirts, sweatshirts. So be ready, be prepared, and also we're gonna be having some things for athletes. We got a program coming out, an online program. When everyone to be ready, it's coming out very soon. Stay tuned. And also we got a book coming out. So stay tuned. This is Coach Laurie, very own Mr. Yusuf Marshall, the very own podcaster, speaker, minister, former athlete. It's Coach Laurie. As I say all the time, God bless, never stress. So you have a blessed day. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, buddy.
What's going on?